I said before the break that after the break, I was going to have a conservative commentator who's a friend of mine on, and I could just imagine people's heads exploding all over the country. Gianno Caldwell is on the line with us. He runs Caldwell Consulting. He's a Republican analyst with Caldwell Strategic Consulting. C-A-L-D-S consulting.com is the website. You can tweet him at Gianno, G-I-A-N-N-O, Caldwell, C-A-L-D-W-E-L-L. And Gianno, just so people have a little background, you're an African-American conservative commentator who has been a regular guest on my TV program for years, and we like each other as people. We've
had drinks together too.
Yeah, we've had some really good times together, and I've always I've always disagreed with your politics. I've always liked you as a person, which kind of puts me in a.
That's exactly what you told me. Yeah, that was one of the first Republicans you've actually liked.
Yeah, well, I liked my dad too. He was a Republican. But the thing that I saw, it's been a while since you've been on our show. You've kind of gone on to bigger and better things. You're all over Fox News these days. And last night on Fox News, and this has gone viral. It's all over the internet. When asked about Trump, you teared up and said, well, actually, I shouldn't be putting words in your mouth. Tell me your thoughts on where we're at right now.
Well, first, Tom, you're actually the first show that I've gone on since that moment, and it wasn't last night. It was this morning.
Okay, thank you.
This is pretty much an exclusive for you because I haven't done anything, and if people look at anything on social media or online right now, it's pretty much everywhere, the segment where Fox and Friends this morning were discussing, or at least brought in to discuss, the statue issue about people taking down the statues, etc. Well, me personally, that's not something, that's one issue, but the real big issue at hand is Trump's press conference. And to me, I wasn't going to go in talking about a statue when it was something so heavy on my heart. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. After seeing that press conference, that's what I wanted to talk about, and that's what I came prepared to talk about, and that's what I actually did talk about. So in talking about President Trump and his lack of respect in terms of talking about race issues, I just couldn't help myself but to really tear up, because it's bothersome to me that the president of these here United States could speak on an issue with such a lack of clarity, could actually be willing to defend a group of folks who are white supremacists or pals around with white supremacists, which you're really a racist. If you're not a white supremacist, if you're not a white nationalist, and you're just hanging around with these guys, then you're literally a racist. There's no other way of putting it. You agree with their commentary, and you're celebrating them or defending them. To hear the President of the United States do that literally broke me.
Yeah. Gianno, for the many years that you and I dueled with each other on television, on a number of occasions, as I recall, and I'm pretty sure I'm clear on this, you reality check me, played for you things like the Lee Atwater clip in 1981 when he was, after he'd helped Ronald Reagan win the election, where he talked about we don't have to use the N-word anymore. Now we can, and we don't even have to say forced busing anymore. Now we can just talk, we need to cut spending, and everybody gets it that we're talking about basically no more federal money for lazy black people. And, and he says, and that's a hell of a lot more subtle than, N-word, N-word, N-word. I always, it's always seemed to me that racism, since Nixon's Southern strategy, Reagan's first speech after he got his nomination in the convention in Philadelphia, Mississippi, that these were shout-outs to white racists. But at least Nixon and Reagan had the good sense or sophistication or whatever, and I don't mean this as a compliment, to hide that in public. Donald Trump isn't even hiding it in public. How do you reconcile, if you don't mind, and feel free to just tell me it's none of my damn business, and I'll move on.
It's none of your damn business. Okay, now we go ahead.
Okay. Well, seriously, I was wondering, how do African Americans in general who are conservatives reconcile that part of the Republican Party with the, trying to maintain a consistent stand as a Republican?
Well, first and foremost, I'm gonna have to push back on a little bit of your commentary. I'll recognize that there's definitely some folks within the Republican Party that, whether they be elected officials or activists, that had pretty much a racist category in terms of what they were looking to push, to marginalize people of color and otherwise. But we can also recognize that also has happened in the Democratic Party.
Oh, that was the Democratic Party prior to the 1950s.
We can discuss that, but let me go ahead and speak very specifically to your question in terms of African American conservatives in the Republican Party that deal with these issues. Me personally, the reason in which I chose to be a Republican over a decade ago stems from the start of the Republican Party in 1854 in opposition to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which wanted to expand slavery into the North. Then we look at some of the civil rights bills that were sponsored by Republicans and all those different things. And I know the usual retort is, that's the old Republican Party. That's not the Republican Party of today. Well, truth be told, there's been a number of changes made in the Republican Party of today. You got a number of African Americans in leadership. We saw the folks that ran for president. It was a pretty diverse group of folks on the Republican side. And also, the reason is, I believe I am the change agent. Like today, I had a unique opportunity to sit on the #1 morning show in America, the one that President Trump actually watches, and speak on the one issue that they were discussing in that 6 o'clock Eastern time hour, which was about the statues, which was the only real opportunity to talk about this press conference.
Yeah. We're talking with Gianno Caldwell. I'm sorry, Gianno. I thought you were finished.
No,
go ahead.
No, I had a unique opportunity, and I thereby provided what I thought was appropriate as a Republican, as an African American conservative, on a very large platform that's now going viral.
Yeah. Well, I can't argue with that. I mean, I consider myself, or I hope that I'm a change agent within the Democratic Party, and because the Democratic Party has a few problems too. Although so here we are, a couple of partisans. But I'm curious. I have been saying for some time that the Republicans will take down Donald Trump. They will impeach him, or they will put so much pressure on him that he resigns at the point at which it's clear that his racial bumbling, which is, I think, how the billionaires who own the Republican Party would characterize this, starts interfering with his ability to give tax cuts to billionaires and to make it easier for the owners of polluting industries to poison our air and water. And, Scott Pruitt's doing a great job of introducing more poisons into our air and water, and he's doing it very, very aggressively. But even that agenda may be at risk. And so I'm wondering, do you think that with the things that Trump says, that the power brokers of the Republican Party are going to cut him loose any day soon?
Well, first and foremost, he has to, if there were to be the case, and mind you, Trump won without any power brokers. There was no,
he had Robert Mercer, who's a billionaire, supporting him. In fact, it was Mercer's Cambridge Analytica that arguably, provided the biggest boost for him.
So let me put this in the right set of terms. You had Hillary Clinton with over 500 or so staff members all across the country, and Donald Trump had less than 100. He had a fraction of the money Hillary Clinton had, and not as much of a ground game and strategy.
Yeah, Gianno, we're running out of time here. Let's not relitigate the election. Do you think that the Republicans are going to tolerate this with Trump?
No, I mean, look at what Republicans have been saying all yesterday. You talk about Speaker Ryan, talk about Mitt Romney, talk about any number of Republicans who have denounced his behavior and conversation surrounding this issue.
So you don't think the Republicans are going to impeach him?
You have to have an impeachable offense. This was an impeachable offense. It was definitely an offense.
The Confederacy was treason and sedition, and he was supporting that yesterday. I think supporting sedition is probably a high crime or a misdemeanor. He has a hotel here in Washington, D.C. that has a clear lease that says that no elected official can benefit from this. He still owns that hotel. That's a violation of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. And Robert Mueller may come out with something that the Republicans can use. I mean, they impeached Bill Clinton over a BJ, for God's sake. It's not like they, that they need a whole lot. And they got a grand jury going. And you know the old saying, a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich.
Yeah, but Bill Clinton lied to federal investigators too.
That's my point.
It's a different ballgame.
That was my point. And at some point they're probably going to find something like that.
If there's something to be found, which we don't know, if there's something to be found, then I'm sure that would be a consideration for a lot of folks. I know that there's a lot of people within the Republican establishment that are upset, disappointed, and tired of President Trump. I'm disappointed, upset, just frustrated with what I saw from him on yesterday, as well as on a number of other occasions. So with that being the case, I'm sure that if there's an opportunity, there's something that will be discussed. I leave that for the elected officials that will have the responsibility in doing that.
It was announced today that Mike Pence is cutting short his overseas trip to come back. I don't know if you've seen the official MikePence.com website. It's a spoof site, but it's brilliant. Do you think that Pence is coming back to save the day?
I don't know. I mean, somebody needs to.
Do you think the day is savable? Is there any way that Trump can undo this, at least with the part of the Republican Party that's offended by it? I realize that there's a part of the Republican Party that loves what he said. David Duke thanked him yesterday.
Yeah, but that's David Duke, I think, is a Democrat. But there's such a small fraction of the Republican Party that's actually in support of what he said. What I've seen is a lot of outrage, a lot of people frustrated with this president. And I think that, Mike Pence should try to help as well as anybody else. But the truth is Donald Trump is the one that continues to step on his own message. So the only person that can really help Trump is Trump. And at this point, every time there's seemingly an opportunity where he can help himself, he does something else else.
Yeah, it's really a mess. And by the way, David Duke I'm pretty sure, was elected for one term in the House of Representatives in the state of Louisiana as a Republican, but I could be wrong. Gianno Caldwell, Republican analyst with Caldwell Strategic Consulting, calledconsulting.com. You can tweet him at Gianno, Gianno, Caldwell, Caldwell. My friend, it's good talking with you. Thank you, Gianno.
Thank you.
We'll be back.